Hello, hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever we are in the world. Today we are going to talk about how we can resolve anxiety, panic attacks, overwhelm, overthinking. There's a whole host of things really, but we're going to focus on those kind of main four today in this video, and basically how you can fully resolve it. You don't need to manage it or cope with these symptoms, and this is something that I feel super passionate about, so I talk about it a lot. But basically what happens when we're in that space, quite often we've done a lot of work to try and help ourselves, whether that be counselling, coaching, therapies of some kind, medication even. But we're in this space now. This is where my clients tend to come and work with me, but equally where I was as well in my own healing, in that space of being so bloody frustrated, because it's like I am trying to help myself. I cannot find the answers, and yet this bloody anxiety or panic attacks are just, stopping me in my tracks, keeping me stuck, overwhelm, keeping me stuck. And we get into this space of becoming kind of really fearful that actually life is never going to change. Is it always going to be like this? Am I always going to feel this desperate, this kind of, feeling like I'm literally just surviving life rather than truly living it? And the problem is that when we're in this space, we just, quite frankly, don't have, on one level, don't have the energy to go after what it is that we want in life. We don't have the energy to go after our big dreams. That just feels exhausting in itself. But actually what's going to happen as well is because we're in this kind of low vibe space, we're not being who we're truly here to be, we're not aligned to who we're truly here to be, we're going to actually push away, those things, those true desires that we really want to come into our lives as well. So it creates a whole, kind of shitstorm really of knock-on symptoms as well. Our nervous system is not going to be regulated when we're in this space as well, which I've found out is really key to be able to kind of hold, the goodness, our true desires that we want to come into our lives as well. So we're going to talk in this short video today about what we need to do to solve the problem. So solve the anxiety, to resolve anxiety, panic attacks, overwhelm, overthinking. What will happen if we don't do this work as well, and then what to do to start making a difference in your day straight away today, or in your days. So just before I get started, I'm just going to introduce myself for anybody that doesn't know me as yet. So my name's Anna Rushmer, and I'm a hypnotherapist and breathwork facilitator, and I basically use gene keys and human design within my work as well. But I basically run a mastermind called Surviving to Thriving. And this, I sort of talk about my work in three specific areas. So I help women to deactivate the chaos that's going on for them. So, that chaos can be anything, can be any symptoms, whether it's physical, mental. Allow them to come into this space of awakening their hearts and also rising to their true potential. And the reason that I do this work now is because, that was my whole healing journey. I needed to, myself, back in the day, going back sort of 16 years, I needed help with a huge amount of mental health issues, and, working through trauma to bring me into this space of thriving in life and having that happiness, peace and joy that I could see other people having, but I had no idea, how I was going to get there myself. So I talk about this a lot. I'm super passionate about this because basically too many women aren't being helped to understand and don't know the resolutions that are out there. Too many people are living in this space of managing, coping, trying to kind of muddle through life, settling in life, rather than actually living their true desires, living their life that they're meant to be living. So how do we solve these problems? How do we resolve them? So I'm just going to talk to you about 3 different things that we can use to start or to resolve these issues. So firstly, the first one is working with the subconscious mind. So we've learnt to feel anxious, panicked, overwhelmed, and gone into this, process of overthinking by lessons that we've learned in our lives previously. And it's basically our imagination in overdrive. So anxiety, panic, is all about imagining, because of our automatic programs that I'll come on to in a moment. But it's all about imagining what may happen as opposed to what's actually happening in our, present world. And these lessons and patterns that we've learned within life's journey are all stored in our subconscious mind, okay? And those kind of stored memories, stored programs are automatically being triggered by our present day occurrences. So what's happening in our worlds right now is actually a result of something being triggered from, our subconscious programs. But the good news is that because we've learned them, so we can unlearn them as well. Now, we can't do this work. We can't get deep enough into this work. We can't create this resolution just by working with the conscious mind, which is why we need to go in. These root causes of our symptoms are stored within our subconscious. So unless we can access the subconscious, if we're just working with the conscious mind, we're not going to be able to get in deep enough to create that true resolution, which is where this, managing and kind of, month on month, year on year need for talking therapies, counselling, coaching, whatever it may be, comes in. So what we need to be able to do is communicate directly with the subconscious, which is where hypnotherapy comes in. And the beauty of working with the subconscious is it's a really magical process, because our subconscious knows exactly how we need to heal. So it knows exactly where to take you to find that root cause, and actually what it is that you need to do to heal, as well. So working with the subconscious, we can identify, why those patterns are there in the first place, the patterns, the programs that are activating, that are creating our anxiety, and our panic attacks, our overwhelm. It can identify them, but then it also knows how you need to best work with them to resolve them. The second thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of, how we can resolve these issues is by settling the nervous system. Okay, this has been a huge learning for me. So I'd done a lot of healing before I came into this space of really understanding that my nervous system was still not regulated, and actually that was causing a lot of issues, even within my business. So business, relationships, peace of mind, covering the whole spectrum. But this is about, when we talk about regulating our nervous system, this is about bringing ourselves, our bodies, back into the rested state. So allowing ourselves to come into this space of stillness, putting the brakes on, coming out of this constant mind chatter, and body being on high alert, adrenaline, running through our system. And this is what I use breathwork for. And when I talk about breathwork, I mean sort of real sort of deep therapy breathwork. And that's how I work with my clients with the hypno as well, but with my clients particularly to look at nervous system. And again, the beauty of this is that the body knows exactly how it needs to heal. So again, when we can come into this space, you know, we can access and open up to this way of healing, the body is going to kick in and, you know, take us on that. It takes us on that journey. I can explain the kind of ins and outs of a breathwork session in a later video. But when we can access the space through breathwork, then the body comes into this space of, you know, purging energy that needs to be released, so trauma energy, for example, and actually opening a space for, you know, our true desires, but regulating that nervous system as well, so we can hold space for that, for all that goodness. The third thing I wanted to just talk about in terms of resolving these kind of issues, so anxiety, panic attacks, is actually understanding how we can understand how to make, you know, decisions with our body, so our body truth, as opposed to our mind. So when we're in full on, you know, overthinking, we're looping through thoughts, which, you know, A, aren't going to help us, but B, aren't ever going to lead us to, you know, a sort of proper decision, or certainly easily, because we're in this kind of, the mind is overloaded. So we're in this space of constant sort of mind chatter, thoughts going on. So we can come into this space of understanding how to use our bodies to, you know, make decisions for us, so or with us, so using our body truth. Now, what happens if we don't do this work, if we don't use the subconscious, if we don't use the body wisdom to help us within this work, is, you know, you're always at best going to be using up a ton of energy just coping with, my phone's pinging, sorry, just coping with, you know, living in this way. So coping with the symptoms that are coming up for you. And you're not going to be able to live the life that you truly want. You're not going to be able to move into that space of hitting the big goals. You know, if you're in that space of feeling like life is meant to be more, but you can't access, you feel really stuck in the moment, then, you know, you're going to be using up a huge amount of energy just staying in this space. So at best, we're going to be feeling, you know, exhausted. We're going to be coping with life, but we're not actually going to be truly living it. Whereas, or, you know, worst case, your symptoms are actually going to get worse, because, you know, the anxiety, the panic, maybe the trauma that underlies that is going to be compounded over time. And that's what I very much found with my own examples, was that, you know, life was just getting harder, more desperate, and more traumatic, because I couldn't work out a way to help myself. I was trying desperately to find you know, the answers, and I couldn't find them, which is why it's so key for me to talk about this as much as I can. So if this resonates, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh yeah, that sounds like me, and actually this sounds a really good way to, you know, start to dive into it, start to think about it, then I'd like to invite you to apply for a lifestyle next level audit with me, which basically we can either run through messenger chat, that's absolutely fine, or book a call with me, whichever you feel more comfortable with. There's no problem whatsoever. But basically with the audit, we will check out, you know, where you are today, where you want to be, and actually create a plan that you can start putting into action today. So it's a completely free call. It's an application, you know, process for the call. And what I'll do is I'll drop in the comments, when I've finished, I will drop a link to the call booking that you can book for yourselves. Or if you'd like to just chat with me on Messenger, by all means do. Just send me a direct message and start the message with #audit, so that I know what it is you're wanting to talk about, and then we will take it from there. So know that there's a resolution. Know that you don't have to cope with these things. You do not have to be in survival mode for the rest of your life. Okay, there is resolution, proper resolution, and there are answers, and we can absolutely come into this space of, you know, really thriving in life and coming into this peace and this happiness and this joy. It is totally possible. So thank you so much for joining me. I send you lots of love. Feel free to ask me any questions, of course.